Sandy, thank you so much for joining us. This is Sandy, or otherwise known as Ma, because you are just grandma to everybody, which is beautiful, and we love you. We wanted to hear about your story of a really powerful moment of healing that you experienced. So you were telling me before that you suffered from fibromyalgia for 15 years, that it was officially diagnosed for. What was life like living with that?
Horrible. But it was filled with specialists and then being handed on to another one by that one because I was in the too hard basket, and in spinal injections which didn't work, that were very painful, no anaesthetic, and on and on and on, and then some pretty heavy medication which I'd been on for a total of 11 years, and it was just ridiculous. It was just horrible.
Yeah.
And at home, simple chores were just too much. Hanging out washing, getting washing off the clothesline, vacuuming. I don't know the last time that I actually vacuumed. Because when Graham retired, he just said, right, I'm here, I'll do it. And he's done it ever since.
What a good man.
Now that I'm better, he still does it.
So what was your pain like on a day-to-day basis?
Very, very real and very strong in all parts of my body. My feet used to burn and just pain, absolutely like terrible. Hands would swell, feet would swell, and across my lower back, it was just always puffed up because of the very, very noticeable. My physio used to try and work with it, but even it confused her at times.
So pretty debilitating.
Absolutely. But it got to the stage where even just to touch me would hurt.
I remember coming to give you a hug one day and you kind of wincing in pain.
Yeah.
And I had no idea.
No.
That was,
I tried to cover it up for a long time because you don't want... Well, I live with someone who doesn't whinge and doesn't complain. So that was another thing.
Yeah.
But just passed from doctor to doctor, and each one was great, but I was just beyond them, and they didn't know. They really didn't know what to do with me.
Right. So we had Pastor Steve Troyer come.
We did.
And deliver a message at church. What is it? 12 months ago?
Yep, 25th of September.
We've got a date.
Yep,
there we go.
absolutely.
Okay. Tell us what happened.
Well, the week before, Pastor Nate had told us about Pastor Steve coming and that he was going to be, teaching, preaching, healing, and bringing a culture of healing, or wanting us to get on board with the culture of healing.
Yeah.
And I wrote, right, this is it. This is my day. So for the whole week before, I was preparing myself for my day of healing.
Wow.
I walked into church super expectant, as I'd done on other occasions, and walked out very sad, very depleted. Nothing happened, But this day was totally different. Even before church started, with just the music and the worship, and he even referred to the music that had been chosen for the day. He said that was just perfect,
Wow.
But then after he started, and I'm going to read it because I don't want to misquote him.
Yeah.
He said, I would like you all to stand and take time. I want to encourage you to tell God what you're waiting for. What are you wanting from him today? So I sure told him. And he said, then declare the Lordship of Christ over everything. Then he went on a bit further and he said the words, when you are healed today. And I read, yes, that's it.
Yep.
This is it. Today's it. So the message went on and we got to the end and he started to call people out for different things. And I just stood there because there was nothing that really suited my issues.
Yeah.
And afterwards I walked down and Bron Mac said to me, where were you? Why weren't you out? What happened? You didn't go out. And I went, but Bron, there was nothing. And she went, well, I don't care. You're not going home today. We're going to go and get him, go and get Pastor Steve now.
Yep.
And so she got him, and then Pastor Nate saw what was going on and he joined the crew.
Yeah.
And they started. And Steve just went and went and went, and every time he'd break, Pastor Nate would say something, and I felt like Pastor Nate was going to fall down before I did, because you could hear in him he was giving.
He could feel it.
He was giving everything he had,
Yeah.
and it was like it was groaning,
Yes.
and I'm thinking, if he feels like that, no wonder I feel like I do, you know. But every time there was a lull with Pastor Steve, something would, my body was reacting.
So what did you feel?
Hot, cold, sweaty,
Wow.
shaky, a bit sick in the tummy, everything.
Wow. So something was obviously happening.
Oh, yeah, and that's
Okay.
what Pastor Nate kept saying, we've got to keep going, we've got to keep going, because something's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And on it went for, I don't know, it was such a long time. But when I eventually left, I walked out of the car in a bit of a daze. I don't even know, you know, I said to Graham, I think you better drive home. Why? Just drive home and I'll tell you, you know. And but it was just, I knew that day that I walked out healed, but the thing was that he said to me, your healing will be complete, but it's going to be over a period of time.
Right. Because
everything had been in the system for so long, and there were like medication involved that had to get rid of.
Yeah.
And I had already started to do that 6 months before. I thought, I've got nowhere to go with this. If God doesn't heal me, I'm on the maximum dose.
Yeah.
I have to get off this. And so I did it with the doctor.
Yeah.
Wasn't easy.
You had a moment on that Sunday, but then you had the journey ahead of you to outwork it. So over a 12-month period, you've come off medication. And what have you seen?
Different. So it's just almost, you can't explain it, because the fibro pain's gone.
Wow.
All the bits and foggy brain and all the other crazy things that went with it. But the weight, I wasn't aware, because I always thought I handled it and managed and kept it, you know, like under wraps as much as you could. But the weight that was lifted sort of felt like just off my head, a total weight.
Yeah.
That's all I can explain it as, as a weight.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And you've had opportunities to, like with your hairdresser and your physio, to actually share about what's happened.
The great thing is my physio, Melanie, she's been looking, both of us, since 2005, every fortnight. She just kept me going. And she was instrumental in the diagnosis in the beginning, which was great. And she's a believer. And so she used to pray over me, and as she does for all the clients that they don't know about. But she's been able to use my healing story and share it with other people that are not believers. And because, she's seen it. Yeah. She's seen it for real. And they'd say, oh, there's no hope. I've got no hope. I'll never get rid of this, because there isn't a cure. And she'd say, well, you know, I'd like to tell you a story about one of my patients, and away she'd go.
Yeah. And I remember you telling me a story about your hairdresser.
I know.
Actually, who's not a believer, sat down with you and said, what's changed? Because your hair was different in texture. Yeah. And you got to share with her what had happened as well.
I said to her, all right, are you ready for it? I said, you really want to know? She went, yes, all I've asked, something's happened. What is it?
Yeah.
So for the next 20 minutes, I told her, like what we've just spoken about. And she said, well, you're different. Your eyes are different. Your hair's different. Your skin's different.
Incredible.
And she would notice that because it's her field, you know, and all of that sort of thing. And it was like, great, this is amazing.
Amazing. So you've seen a miracle.
Absolutely.
A total miracle.
Absolutely.
Is incredible.
I felt at one stage like I was just like a serial responder, you know, for healing, you know. Oh, here it is, let's go again, you know. But no, I knew that day when I walked out of church that I was healed. Yep. But with and Bron had already said that to me, I believe that your healing is going to be slow but complete.
Yeah. Yep. And 12 months on?
Yep. The final medication, drug, whatever. I took the last one in the middle of July.
Wow. Such an incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing your story of healing and for doing the journey, for sticking at it, even though it was probably slower than you wanted it to be. What you've seen, is so cool. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Hey, we're here with Clint and Ellie this morning, and excited to see you guys. Good to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, tell us about how did you guys find victory, Jesus? How did everything start?
Well, it's probably a long story cut short. We'll keep it pretty short and sweet. But I never had faith growing up. Never had a religious family, anything like that. Nothing at all.
Yeah, right.
So did go to an Anglican high school, but it didn't really, resonate with me.
Yeah.
Obviously got married, had kids, and then running our own business and whatnot. Things got pretty hectic there for a while.
Yeah.
Lots of bad behaviour from myself. I abused drugs and alcohol for a long time, up until the end of last year, from the age of about 17. Hit rock bottom there. Got to take everything out on the family and the kids. Wasn't around much with work and needed a change. And the big man upstairs give me that change. There was a Tuesday morning. I got up after playing up one night and found myself sitting in the car park talking to me mate, crying, figuring out what I had to do with me life. And he suggested C3.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm the same. Like, I've not come from a faith background. I went to a public school. I never really had much opportunity to learn about God.
Yeah.
I always believed there is a God. And, we would celebrate Easter and Christmas and all those things. But, we're very, very different. We're total opposites.
And chalk and cheese.
So I was just like, I'm done with this. We kind of, literally hit rock bottom and we ended up here and I was just all for it.
Yeah, right.
We actually come to see Darren for marriage counselling.
Yeah.
Which still to this date we haven't had. And our marriage
You haven't actually had the marriage
we officially
counselling.
haven't had the marriage counselling.
Yeah.
Darren spoke to us about God and Jesus and finding faith. And we come along to church, come back and had another sit down with Darren, accepted Lord Jesus Christ as our saviour, and our marriage and family's never been better.
All right.
Haven't looked back.
That's so good. That's
Never been better.
What was what was life before Jesus? Like, before encountering him, being at church here, like, what was,
Hard.
Yeah, okay.
Hard. Trying, testing all the time. Not having something to believe in that faith. Like, it was monotonous. It was constantly, I thought I needed to do this to fit in here, or I would go and I'd have a bad day over here, so I'd go do another downer over there to make that one better, which then by the time I got home, I was that down and defeated. I'd get angry, walk in the door and get cranky at the littlest things, and there was no appreciation for what we actually had. And we were doing well, but I don't believe we were doing well at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you're telling a story about how you started driving around
I did.
to like a bunch of churches or
I
something.
did. So I woke up on the Tuesday morning and I knew we were at rock bottom. I knew we were down and out. And my best mate, Daniel, actually is the one that introduced us to the church. And he's been feeding me little bits of faith over the years and just...
It's like dropping
And praying
seeds.
for you.
Yeah, and praying for me, dropping hints to try and
Praying for
get
us.
me here. And he always said, I knew you would come. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I did. I woke up that morning and he never gets stuck into me ever. He's always the one that's got my back. But that morning, he had a few hard words to say to me and they really resonated, and I never really felt remorse or resent or never felt guilt. But that morning, it was like a wave of everything just come over the top of me, and I felt it all. And I drove from Nelson's Bay to Newcastle, went to about 7 different churches.
7 churches. Where?
They were all closed, and that's where I ended up back on the phone to Daniel, sitting in the car park.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then linked up with Darren.
So you went to see Darren for marriage counselling.
Yeah.
But salvation...
Never happened.
The marriage counselling didn't happen?
Didn't
Yeah. So Darren gave us a like a Bible, what was a New Believers Bible.
Yeah.
He gave us one each, and we talked about the good news and went through it all. And I went home, and I remember Darren said, "Go and read John," and I went home and I read it. I read it all.
Yeah, right.
And it was great. Yeah.
And then, like, did Darren and Beck pray with you? Like, what was the
Yeah, Darren
was it in
prayed
that
with us.
moment? Like, were you guys like, yeah, we want to, like,
It was the
receive
second.
Jesus in
Yeah,
this
the
moment?
second.
Yeah, so we
sort
had a
of-
few meetings with Darren.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the second one we prayed.
Yeah, we prayed and accepted it.
That was very powerful.
It was.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was massive turning point. But as I've said now, like, our marriage has never been better. My attitude's changed, my family's changed because of this, and now this resonates to our children. And now our children are becoming better people.
Yeah.
Now they seen me not following the faith, following the life, and living with such good experiences and being surrounded by such good people. They thought what I used to do was acceptable.
Yeah.
And I could see that starting to develop in them.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best blessings that's happened is them being able to be part of this life now and this family.
Yeah, come on.
Because they're becoming great kids now, great little children.
They're at the stage now where Reed, he's 9, so he has his own kids' Bible and he wants to read it. And
So good.
especially the girls, we've got Addie, she's 7, Lottie's 2, and they're prompting us now of a night to pray before they go to sleep.
With them.
So
That is awesome.
yeah, it's really good.
So what are some other things that you feel like has changed since receiving Jesus, like personally for you guys?
It's like it literally just fills your cup kind of thing. Like, I feel like I was a very anxious person. Like, I would worry about things so much. And now I just feel like I'm, capable of doing anything. God created me for a reason. Like, I'm not going to be anything like Clint, where, like we said, chalk and cheese. But, I feel like I've got a purpose. And I also feel like, when we're going through hard times, that's like our go-to now. We turn to God, and we'll pray and we'll talk to God and we come through it. Having that peace now and that faith, it's just really just been the best thing. Yeah, our home life is so much more peaceful.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Home's peaceful.
Yeah. So much
Life's
more
peaceful.
love. Yeah.
Life's peaceful.
Life's peaceful. Life's less stressful. It's good. Now I don't worry about the little things anymore. And you see the little things fix themselves.
Yep.
You don't worry about the little things. You enjoy the little things as well. Like, we find now, like, I didn't enjoy anything. I didn't appreciate anything. Like, I never have. I was just like, even my toys, the cars, anything. I never cared about anything because I was like, I'll just go buy another one. I don't care. Where now I appreciate the little things. And then the big things unfold from that.
Yeah.
It's slowly starting to, the more I read the Bible, the more I talk to people, table spaces, it's slowly starting to, everything's coming into perspective for us.
That's so
And
good.
our life's better for it.
So good.
100%.
It's been incredible just getting to know you guys a little bit. Like, you guys are great, and I mean, our church is blessed to have you part of it, and I'm so thankful that you guys have found Jesus, and I hope that heaps of people get to meet you guys, and now that they know your story a little bit more, they might feel a bit more comfortable to say hello at church on a
I'm
Sunday.
happy for anyone to come and talk to us because I've said it before in the past to several people, but without finding this family, we wouldn't have our family.
Yeah.
So it's,
wow.
We are so grateful.
Well, thanks for sharing your story. Thank you.
No dramas.
And thanks for being here with us today.
Awesome.
Thank you.
G'day, we are here today with Matt Roberts, and we're going to talk about table spaces. You know, we have 23 table spaces right now, Matt.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know, right? That's pretty good.
That is good.
And you're a part of 2 of them, which is pretty cool. And so what do you love, Matt, about being a part of table spaces?
Yeah, I love the fact that, so you think of church on a Sunday, plenty of people, you get lost in a crowd, but you can get lost if you want to. But the thing that I like about table space is that it makes the bigger number smaller. So it reduces the number. So
Right.
it becomes a little more, I guess, intimate, if you want to use that word.
It's a bit closer, can build like closer relationships.
it's what you want to get out of it. And I've been in one where there's a couple of older guys, a couple of younger guys, so there's a good mix, and it's a good place. We talk about different things, but then you've got a different perspective. You've got the older person's perspective, you've got your perspective, and where you are, and so it always seems to be that there's somebody there that you can, I guess, listen to or get a little bit of, okay, so this is where I'm at. How did you get through there? It's like,
right. Do you find too, Matt, that you're able to then like pass on your wisdom to the younger guys as well?
Well, I don't know if it's wisdom, but you certainly pass something on. No. Yeah, look, I think so, because it's one of those ones where you talk about iron sharpening iron, and hopefully, you're getting sharpened and not being too abrasive, but, sharpening, and that gets passed down into your world.
Yes.
And the people that are in your world go, well, I don't know whether they ever go, you've been to a table space getting yourself sharpened, but they see, they can see that there's a difference. You may handle a situation differently. I think it's noticeable.
Yeah. So, I mean, the question, how have you been impacted by table spaces in your history of being in groups?
Yeah.
Like, what's been the impact to you?
I think one of the biggest things is it makes you accountable. If you've got a level of accountability, that helps to keep you in check, because somebody's going to say, hey, how you going?
Yeah, right.
And the standard male answer is, good.
Yeah.
But then they go, how are you really going?
Yeah, good.
And then it's like, so you're not going to let me off with good. I'm going to have to tell you how I'm feeling. Right. And that's set up in a safe space.
Yeah, good.
Because when you first start, like anything, you put a group together and who's who in the zoo, and how much do you say, how much don't you say? But I think over time, you build a relationship where trust is built. And obviously, the more you trust, the more you reveal.
So good. Like, what about one example or time when you felt so grateful? I'm so grateful that I'm a part of this smaller group of men, or a smaller group.
I think early, when we first started Table Space, one that comes to mind, we were looking at a book, a particular book. It was Fight, Craig Groeschel.
Yep.
And great book. And in that, there were different things that came up. And, just being able to read, process, talk about it in the group, but then also go, rightio, that's good. The group's good. The guys are good. But, hey, God, what are you doing? What do I need to look at? What needs to change? And I think that's the moment where it's like, okay, table space is great, and it's got everything that we've spoken about.
Yeah.
But for me, that points you back to God going, okay, what are we doing about it?
Yeah, right.
And
so it was like a springboard to what God wanted to do in you.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's one of those things that have begun, and it wasn't finished by Friday afternoon, because we're on a timeline here. We've got to get this done.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that just keep unfolding, and different things get added to it. It's like, rightio, you've sorted this bit out. What about this bit? And again, I think it's the security of having people who have been where you're going, or have been through different things. That you can glean from.
Yeah, that's unreal. So do you feel like you're being discipled in that space?
Yeah, I do. Yep.
Because you're growing closer to God?
Yep.
You're becoming mature, being transformed.
And I think that's the thing. Like, you've got to make that choice, because you can turn up to church and sit there, or you can turn up to table space and sit there. But it's what you said. It's the commitment to go, all right, we're just going to go a little bit more than surface and see where we end up.
Wow. And there's that, like you said earlier, just to finish up, there's that sense of other people have done that journey. Older people may have done that journey, or more mature people have done that journey before me. I know that I can see a way forward in this.
And
Yeah.
I think it's the whole thing that we're doing here. It's the power of the testimony. It's
So
somebody else's testimony.
Right,
They've been through it. God's helped them, and they're
Yeah.
like, okay, it might be a little bit different for you, but the thing that doesn't change is the fact that God's there
So
to help
good.
me
Right.
through what He's helped somebody else through.
Right. So good to have Matt and so many table spaces in our church. Make sure you're a part of one.
Hi, everybody. We are so excited to be able to bring to you a story, a testimony of God's faithfulness and goodness. And I have Di Morley here with us today. Welcome, Di.
Hey, how you doing?
So good to have you with us. Hey, recently you had a beautiful experience by serving at Good Oil Coffee at Hunter Homeless Connect. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was awesome. It's a day that I won't forget easily.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it was really cool. I think the team and I didn't know what to expect going into it. We knew it was going to be hectic, but we also had like this expectation that God was going to meet us there and meet people there. And so when we arrived and were setting up, the atmosphere among the stall holders was electric. It was just, everyone had this really high anticipation of what the day would be. And so that was really pretty cool. I think going into it, I wasn't sure what homelessness in Newcastle was going to look like, to be honest. And so chatting to people through the day, I realised that, you know, there were some people that didn't know where they were going that night.
It's pretty confronting, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a pretty massive day. So the numbers in the end were somewhere over 1,000 of the attendants that came through.
Yep.
I know we did somewhere close to 350 coffees.
350 coffees.
40,
That's amazing.
40 plus litres of milk.
Yeah.
We ran out of everything a couple of times. We had,
And we gave those away, right?
we gave them away. Everything was free.
So good.
Everything that was free that was there was free.
Yeah. So it was pretty impacting, right? The time that you had there was impacting on you.
It was amazing. It was
What sort of an
amazing.
impact do you think it had us being there as Good Oil Coffee, as C3 Church Victory, and a coffee cart?
Yeah, really cool. I started the day with Maya and Jenny Edwards.
Yeah, beautiful.
Anyone that spent 5 minutes with Jenny would know that she's generous with all of herself.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I remember at one point I'm head first in the coffee machine and I glance up and Jenny's out of the cart talking to
Absolutely,
somebody,
Yep.
and I'm like frothing milk and doing coffee. So I'm like, Maya, are you okay? And she's like, I'm fine. And then as I'm frothing milk, I'm like, who's your mum talking to? She said, I don't know. I'm like, well, is that not like a family member or something? She's like, no. I'm like, really? Okay. And I talked to her later and she had no idea who it was.
Oh.
She didn't know.
Just welcoming and
But
loving.
what she did know was that these people that don't have homes or somewhere to belong
Yeah.
don't get touched. They don't. They certainly don't get a hug. They're lucky to engage anyone in conversation in any given day. And so she was generous with the 2 minutes that she was out.
Yeah, so good.
That guy had her undivided attention. He's pulling things out of his bag. Look what I've got. And she's going, wow. And it was really amazing.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity chatting to a girl while she was waiting for a coffee. I said, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? And she's like, oh, not so great. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And she said, oh, I've got this type of cancer and this type of cancer and this condition and that condition. And this girl's like 30-something. She's young. And I'm like, oh, wow. I said, has anyone prayed for you before? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I don't mean like I'm thinking and praying for you. I said, I mean pray over you. She's like, oh, no. I said, oh my gosh, can you just wait? Can you just wait a minute? I had 4 coffees on the go. Let me pour these coffees. And then I said, I'd really like to just touch you on the arm or something. Is that okay? She's like, sure. I said, just plop it up on the bench. And so she's just like plopped it up on the Good Oil bench. And it looked like a 10, 15-second max prayer.
Yeah.
I just put my hand on her and just prayed for the healing of God, that God's love and acceptance and that she was loved and seen and not forgotten. Amen, right?
Amen,
It was like it was done. And then she's like, thanks. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'd love for you now to go inside. I didn't know where Victory Care were inside. We were not together.
Yep.
I said, I need you to go inside and you're going to be looking for a giant-sized guy with glasses and kind of like a cartoon character, joy about him.
Who might that be?
I'm like, his name's
Just Darren.
I said, you need to find Darren. And I said, please tell him that Di sent you in and that he's going to want to meet you.
Yeah.
And he's going to want to pray for you and you're going to make his day.
Yeah.
I said, please try and find him. And she said, okay. And she went away. I don't know whether she did, but I know Jesus met her that day, met with her that day. Another really quick story is that I'm like, seriously, like a million coffees, head first into coffee. And after lunch, Marg and Gary Pageant joined me. And I'm like head first into coffee and I could hear Margie praying the salvation prayer over somebody accepting Jesus into their heart. And I'm like, what's going on? Like,
That's what it's
this
about,
is
right?
insane.
That's what it's
Insane.
about.
Heaven met earth right there in the good oil van. Like,
Such an incredible impact.
it was so cool.
So good.
Really cool.
So, you know, at Victory, we love reaching out into our community. What does it mean to you to have a church that is wanting to do that, to reach out into our community?
Oh, look, I think I love giving my time, but I love as a family that we can sow into a church that is generous, that collectively we are a generous church, that it means that we can take the good old coffee cart out into the public and that we can put a tangible need in someone's hand. And it's such an easy on-ramp then to show how God is good and He's gracious and He's generous.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people we saw that day, and hundreds of times people said, wow, you guys are so generous. And they're looking around for signage. They're like, who are you? And it was so easy. It was such an honour, hundreds of times, to say, we're the church.
That's beautiful, Di.
Yeah.
Such an impacting, beautiful way to spread the love of Jesus in a simple way, right?
Yeah,
in a way that is impacting and meeting a need.
Yeah, so
Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Welcome.
Beautiful.